Hello and welcome to the Quackcast. This is the Drunkduck Quackcast. I'm Ozone Ocean, with me is Baines, Tance, and a special guest, John Celestri. Hello.
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 This is the Quackcast. And welcome to the Drunkduck Quackcast. We're going to be doing this fantastic interview with John Celestri and talk about all animation and projects he's worked on and his new comic. But before we get into that, we have to bring up the featured comic for this week, which was Spring. I featured that, and I'm going to talk about that now. Hello, I'm Ozone Ocean, and my feature for the week was Spring. A pony comes home to the farm after working in the big city, wanting to taste some of the simple life again, and maybe something else. She didn't fit in there when she was growing up, but since her late father willed it to her, she thought she'd better make a go of it. Returning, she had the good fortune to meet the very attractive, bubbly barmaid Muffy. There's obvious manga influence to this lovely pastel-coloured webcomic. It's a romantic comedy, and the style is vertical scrolling, infinite canvas. This was inspired by the game A Harvest Moon, Another Wonderful Life. Normally we don't feature fan comics per se, but in this case it's transformative enough, and the comic is obviously a different form to a game. So yeah, in this case, it's fine. This is a very enjoyable little comic, very manga influenced in the style, and a good little gentle story that slowly develops where you see these characters interacting with each other and doing stuff around a farm and being in a rural community. It's very, very interesting. I suppose it's similar to the main draw of the game, so it's not the usual action and tension and conflict that drives that kind of a story. It's a very different thing, which just goes to show there are many different ways of getting reader interest and providing you with an interesting story. So this is a comic by Andra Libra, and it's rated T for teen, so read it. Spring. And I hope you enjoyed that. That was Spring, which is a fantastic little comic. Okay, so after that we have the featured music. Gunwallace has given us a theme to Delos, which is a comic I featured, and I would describe this music as a haunting, nightmarish horn draws you into a vast, creepy, echoing world lit by the sparse, lyrical plucked notes on a melodic electric guitar. This is regal, scary, and terrifying at the same time. The sounds of a vast underground desert cave at night. So take it away, Gunwallace, with your theme to Delos. And that was the theme to Delos, which is a comic by Austin Jabberwocky, rated M. Okay, so now we've done with the formalities, we can get on to our interview with John Celestri, which is fantastic. Is that your real name, John?
Oh, yes, it is.
Really?
Really,
Wow.
John Celestri. Actually, that's it's John Frank Celestri, but on my birth certificate, it's Giovanni Francesco Celestri.
Oh my
Oh,
God. That's beautiful. So a
Yeah,
beautiful Italian name.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's for my two grandfathers. Giovanni was my father's father, and Francesco was my mother's. So, Tanya, you know the difference. You know how they, how it goes.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I received it because there was an older baby brother who died before I was born. He was like a month. And so I got his name and my father and I got his name, which was for my father, and then I got my name, which would have been Francesco from my mother's father's name. But
Mhm.
but I grew up being called Gianfranco, combination of the two.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
It's
beautiful name.
yeah, it's amazing. Like the backstory of your two names is so similar to mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's basically my mom was from Sicily. My
Ah,
father was from is well, he was born in Bel Air, Ohio, across from Wheeling, West Virginia. It was in the Appalachians, but that was because his father came from Sicily and was a barber in the mining town, and then went back. This was about 1890, 1900, and after he had his own, a barber shop, and he was successful there in the mining town, and he went back home to Reggio Calabria in Sicily and got his wife, and then came back to there.
oh, so
Yes.
to collaborate, that's really close. Like that's Magna Gracia, basically. um, so at least that's what we consider it over here, like a very long lost siblings, in a sense. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
it's very much. I mean, he didn't know. He just picked out a wife, and
yeah.
came back, and that was it. And unfortunately for him, his wife turned out to be a school teacher, a college educated woman. And after giving birth to my father, in the mining town, because that's where he had relatives. That's where my
Mhm.
grandfather had relatives. Um, he said, "No, I'm getting out of here. We're leaving," and they wound up in Brooklyn, in New York, and that's where I was. And then so there's too much going on. But anyway, this is the kind of stuff that goes into the comic book, into this strip, because part of my family's story is my mom had a religious gift shop in Brooklyn, Catholic shop, sold chalices and ciboriums and priest
Mhm.
vestments. And this is in the early 60s. And across the street from us was the 1717 Club, which was where the mobsters and mafia locals hung out. And that's where they had they brought their girlfriends on Friday night and on their comadres, and then on Saturdays, that's when they brought their wives there. And it was so across from each. So that comes parts of the neighborhood that Michael becomes involved with. So
Well, we should, before we go any further, we've done all the introduction in our video, but we
yeah,
haven't done it in audio version. So
that's okay. That's
Yeah,
okay.
we haven't introduced you, but we just jumped right into it because you're such an interesting person. So
Uh,
we have.
we both we just went around those this time.
We'll have to back up and say, so John Celestri, our special guest on this Quackcast, is a fantastic animator and illustrator who's been working in animation since forever and been part of some fantastic big projects over the years, like Rock and Roll, She-Ra, the
he managed your the Star Wars Holiday Special, Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, Arcane, and a bunch of other things. Where Mr. Magoo.
Oh my God, Mr. Magoo. Jeez.
Yeah. It was a very small. I mean, it was very. I've worked on a lot of different things. Batman commercials that were broadcast in Canada, and for a Zeller's commercial that was in 1988, 87, 88. We did that using fax machines. I would scan my drawings in telephone fax machines, and they would be taken they would go from where I was living in Rhode Island, and it was faxed across the telephone wires to Canada, and they would take the thermal paper and then clean that up and put it underneath, put another clean sheet of paper over that, and then clean up my drawings and work all that. So there's a lot going on there that
pre-internet.
A lot of things. But anyway, yeah.
Wow.
This is what you did pre-internet, because obviously you couldn't email stuff, so you had to have but fax machines were state of the art back then. And you could actually transmit 2D images, which is fantastic.
Yes, that's what we would do. It's again, I'm self-taught in terms of animation and drawing, and I've worked with old Popeye and Mighty Mouse animators. That's what I broke in to in about 1975, 74, 75. Johnny Gent was the premier Popeye person for Paramount and Fleischers in the 40s and 50s. So I learned a bit about how to throw a punch, with an animation. And I learned the mechanics of animation. It's not just drawing; it's understanding that there are theories of motion the same way that there's theories of music. Everybody has a rhythm. You have an energy, and how do you portray that? Not just in drawing, but in the way something is moving. So sometimes you learn to do things to give a caricatured reality with your movement. So it's believable, but it's not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't need to rotoscope. You just need to understand what power and vectors and forces shape the movement. It's kind of like there's a difference between looking at an arm as a straight line, or is it a vector? Where is it? Where is the motion? And where is the power coming from? And when you move,
okay.
I'm sorry, you can't see that. You can't see what I'm saying because it is we have just audio here.
It's quite abstract, yeah. But it's. I mean, I actually taught digital animation for a few years at a tertiary institution, and one of the things I learned about was the fact that when you're doing like movement, people walking, you automatically would tend to put everyone in the same rhythm. It looks just so stupid. So you've got to understand that everything works on different rhythms and stuff. You can't time everything together and things like that. You've got to mix it up.
You do, and it's kind of like with music, you can play something technically correct, and you're right on the beat, and you're doing exactly the right thing, technically. But the artistry is how you then play with the note, how you create the note. That's the same way with animation, which is how do you play with each individual drawing? You could do something that's on singles, which is I work on 24 frames per second. That is, to me, that is what motion picture was the slowest that you can play and get sound.
Right.
That's why 16. That's why, and it went from 16 up to 24 frames a second. Silent was 16 frames a second, went to 24 frames a second, and so therefore, with 24 frames, you can. It's perfect because you can create every type of musical beat with that. If you try with 30 frames, you can't do it. You can't split it correctly. You can't do, four. You can't do 4 beats a second because you are in either on the 7th frame or the 6th frame of that in 30 frames. So you can't do that exactly. So you can play it. There's a lot that you could do, but with each drawing, you then can twist it and turn it so that it's not mechanical. It's how you play with each drawing. So this is the kind of material that I'm bringing this knowledge into my comic.
Yeah. So the comic is Fire Fist Angel, Bloodwing Fire Fist Angel, which is a fantastic title. It's got these like buzz kind of words in it, so it's going to attract attention. Yeah.
Originally, awesome. Originally I called it the Bloodwing Chronicle, the Bloodwing Angel Chronicles. But then I thought, okay, it's a little bit too old. I mean, I don't know. There's not enough punch to it. But Michael has a fist. Well, really, Michael can only now, summon the angelic power to have, instead of a flaming sword for an arm, it just has a flaming finger.
Right.
And that's the only thing that Michael can use. I mean, you have the fist, aspect, but most of the power comes out of the middle finger. And that's
I love that.
And so therefore I said, okay, Fire Fist Angel has kind of has a manga-ish feel to it.
Right.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I love that. I love that title. And the your banner above the comics too is awesome as well. With the iconography, you've got the Michael there looking very Led Zeppelin, which is awesome, and the great bee in the wing beside it. So it looks so cool. It's an awesome banner that you've come up with. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's spoiler. We're probably going to feature this comic. So
yeah, it's going to happen. There's no reason to deny it.
Yeah, we were just waiting for enough pages to happen. So
yeah,
and now they are. So yeah, this is a comic. So you were telling us before about how Michael sort of gets split and becomes a humanoid with both sexes. So yes. There's like breasts and genitalia that are on show with this comic, which is fine with their now ratings because it's a mature rated comic and there's no like sexual stuff. It's just like parts.
There is nothing in this comic that you cannot see on HBO.
Yeah,
on any of the streaming services.
That's how we sort of think of our ratings. We think of them like TV ratings. So if anybody can see it, then it's fine.
Yeah, but there is no vulgarity to it.
Yeah,
there is. I mean, the amount of bloodshed that you see in all sorts of shows seems kind of strange. And even if you're going to look at, there's a sexuality of it. Good Lord, MTV or videos, the amount of sexuality that you see on the, with Beyonce and anybody else on TV, and even just cheerleaders, whether they be in grammar school or high school or college, there's kind of a double standard, but that's more of an North American attitude than it is with Canadian, with European and the rest of the world.
Especially when you're like I don't think we talked about this in the audio Quackcast yet, but we did mention it in the Patreon video, which will be open to everyone to see because it's a Christmas thing. We talked about heavy metal, and my God, heavy metal is something that definitely does not shy away from showing all aspects of human existence, which is a good way of saying it, and it's beautiful because of it. I mean, that's when I was originally starting out my own comic, I was modeling it after heavy metal. So yeah, that's a great thing to follow. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing about what I'm enjoying about with Drunkduck is that it's that we can do some mature material without worrying about how does this work with with merchandising. That's where that's why I got tired of the Kickstarter Indiegogo kind of trying to get a comic that would be collectible for the first issue or two, and then you go on to something else. That's what the support is. And there is no, I doubt that people read the books. That's a thing that I found that it's pretty much of an immature mindset, and I don't see much mature material being created. There's a lot of mature. When I mean mature, I mean thoughtful.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about, not issues as in, trying to get an agenda, but just talk about people. I mean, one of the inspirations for this book, besides the, I want to say book, I mean the comic with Bloodwing, it was the Book of Job.
Right.
And me personally, I wrote it as a novella first in 2013, and because I was at the lowest point in my professional life and personal life, I really had been beaten down, and so I thought of myself as I played by the rules and I got screwed, and so therefore I said, okay, what happens if an angel gets the same deal? How does that angel react? Playing by the rules and getting screwed still. And so that was the aspect, that was the beginning of Michael and with Bloodwing. Then I thought about the Book of Job, but then also I remember, reading C.S. Lewis's The Screwtape Letters. And there you talk about morality and what humans are like. And there is the thoughtfulness of that, dealing with that, with human nature. And these are all the elements that I want to bring into this comic. It will take time to get this out, but there is an aspect to setting up the world, setting up the situation, and then bringing out the aspect of, without writing a sermon, how do characters react to each other based on the rules that I've set up for this aspect, and people can read the legend that I start with, which is a page, and it goes and explains what the world is for Bloodwing is all about, and that's how we go and work into that. So, but yet there's a cartooniness to it, and there's a caricatured aspect to the artwork, and it's fun to look at, I'm thinking, and you get energized, and you feel that there's animation going on without there being animation.
It definitely has that style because of it's very, very beautifully caricatured and stylized. So there's people communicate not just with their speech bubbles, but with their faces and body language and expressions and things like that. So it really does everything about it communicates very strongly. So yeah, that gives that animated kind of a feel. Just you can tell you're a real pro in that aspect. You know what you're doing. You've had so much experience. Like you worked on such big things for like Dragon's Lair, for goodness sake, which was I think is probably one of the only fully animated video games.
That was the
first one.
That was the first arcade, traditionally animated. There weren't many done other than that. We did Dragon's Lair, did Space Ace, and then Dragon's Lair 2. So there were 3 of those. But then Hollywood gets into in its way. I mean, there was a problem between Don Bluth and the person he worked with, who was the technical person who came up there was a partnership, and money went, and it all went. But as long as you all had the experience of getting that,
we did, all of us.
You spent money.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Quickly losing every quarter and barely getting into it.
And I actually had it in CD-ROM.
Okay.
The original Dragons. Yeah. But it did have it was the second version that had the little flashing light of where you had to sort of direct Dirk, because nobody would get it. Otherwise. And even then it was crazy hard, but I loved it. Basically my entire family loved it. Whenever I would put it in the computer to play, like my parents would sit and like a backseat drive the entire game, which was frustrating.
Well, it was basically a movie quality animation.
Yeah.
That would keep on cutting out because you'd die every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, you got to see a lot of my animation because I did a lot of the death scenes.
No way.
Those were amazing.
Yeah.
Like just those expressions of like a cross between Wile E. Coyote and what's the other? My brain has frozen.
Like
but
Sylvester
basically,
the Cat.
yes, thank you. That's the one. Like smooshed together into that.
Not Sylvester. Tom
and Jerry from Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry would be it. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of some of my favorite ones is whenever he would when Dirk would get hit, and he'd crack and fall into pieces. That sort of thing.
I always wondered, since I was a kid or since I was young and playing that game, like wondering, okay, when's the movie coming out? I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. We wanted the movie so badly.
Well, it's very interesting. The thing about, and I know that they've been playing around with that for quite a while, but yeah, I don't even know if it's going to be animated. It may be a live action version. Yeah. The thing about it is, though, the plot is not so much the fun; it's you interacting with that.
Right.
And it's not just you doing it; it's you watching someone else fail.
Yeah.
You talk about the death scenes, and you made me thinking about this movie for all these years. Like maybe a movie would have to incorporate the death scene somehow, right? Like,
right.
I don't know how, but it's such an important part of
and that's the thing is sometimes, and I'm being honest about it, sometimes you should be, don't go past a certain point because you lose the energy. Some places, are work for a time and a place, and it shouldn't be played with. It's like, Dirk having a family. That's crazy. That doesn't work.
That's strange. Well, it's strange in the in the sequel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's, for example, let's do this here. Popeye in the comic strip was a very fanciful comic strip. It had great adventures and so on and so forth. When it was in the original animation of the 30s, it was very much of a guy. He was a sailor. He was a merchant sailor, and he was just the toughest guy around. And he would get into scrapes, and that was the fun part of it. Once it became Popeye and his nephews, or Popeye the family man, he was no longer Popeye the sailor.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You have to, and that gets the change. It happens. It almost happens no matter what genre you are in, or what time period where you're living in. Once suits and bean counters get involved in the process, you lose it.
Yeah, you lose that energy and that friction,
yes.
The power of the thing. It's so true.
Yeah.
When you boulderize it down into being very family friendly and generic like that.
Yeah. Why does everything have to be for the family?
Exactly.
Why does it have to be so safe? I mean, art is not safe.
Yeah, that's so true. You've got to have freedom to have things be a bit dangerous. I mean, that's why I like about this our website, Drunkduck. We kind of celebrate and support these kind of projects. We're not like a lot of the other ones that tend to have they project their very safe image, and even if they allow some more dangerous ones in the fringes, they only project the safe ones as being their main image, and those are the only ones that promote it. Whereas we promote everything, don't we? So we're happy to have it.
Yeah. Well, it harkens. It reminds me of going into the website and the material. Like, I don't know what I'm going to see, but I know that there is a range of material, and it's kind of like going into a head shop back in the 60s and finding Zap Comics, or that kind of underground material that you can see, and it doesn't have to have the Comics Code Authority stamped on the upper right corner of the cover. That it's been looked at and chopped off and and redlined and said, redraw this or do that, take this word out.
Exactly. Oh my god, yeah, Comics Code Authority, where they have you can't have like death scenes or supernatural or
in the 50s and early 60s. Yeah, that's when I was reading comics then, but at the same time I also read the Sunday Funnies, and Dick Tracy is shooting people in the head, in the hand, on the Sunday pages. I mean, people were shot and killed. That's family entertainment in the Funnies.
Oh, geez. Okay, all right. So you did still have some hardcore stuff then.
Yes, you did.
Excellent. Yeah. It wasn't all wiped out.
No. So that's
that's important, because once you lose culture like that, there can be a bit of a breaking point. It's very hard to restart once things have been totally, once there's been that distance. Once the distance gets greater, it's hard to get back to, or to, like I say, restart.
Yeah.
So some continuity means that it can continue.
Yeah, and so that's what I like about Drunkduck, and that Is a drunk duck or is a duck? How do you like to be called?
Well, okay, so when the website originally started in 2002 or 2003, 2003, it was called Drunkduck, and it was Drunkduck until we got bought out by an enormous Hollywood, studio, Platinum, and then they changed our name to The Duck Comics because drunk sounds not very advertiser friendly. So
there you go. Exactly what you're saying. Yeah,
we've been stuck with The Duck Comics since then, but we still call ourselves Drunk Duck.
Okay. Okay,
So there you go.
It's fine. I mean, within the family, you're drunk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's an example of us going through exactly the same thing. We had our Comics Code Authority period.
Well, but it's all very cool, and it's I enjoy seeing what there is here, and that's what attracted me to find it. I mean, I looked at other websites and I thought I don't fit in here. That's the problem. What I want to do doesn't fit into the other, like tapas or or webtoons or almost any place else, because I don't, I look at the styles and I'm going, where does what I want to do fit? And I don't see it.
So much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're happy to have the really eclectic feel of so many different styles and periods of work and ages of creators too. Like a lot of these sites, like Webtoon and stuff like that, tend to have like 20-year-olds and young 30s, and they're very much like that. That's the culture of the people who interact, the creators. Comic Fury, which is a sort of a cousin site to us, very much like young 20-year-olds, young 30-year-olds. So we love to be more like welcoming to everybody, all cultures, all generations. It enriches everything, I think, and we enjoy.
We are the melting pot.
Yes, there you go. That's good. That's good.
We don't just enjoy the work; we enjoy the community and then the people interacting and sharing knowledge and experience. So yeah, it enriches us. So yeah, it's something we're very happy about.
Yeah.
So we're very happy to have you on. But you were saying to me in a message, I think that Pam Harrison was the one who.
Yes. Yes.
Got me,
yeah. I went on. I was looking at the Facebook pages for webcomics, and that's where it is. And I posted saying, where do you, we besides posting on Facebook, I suggested, what kind of place would you post, your webcomic? And that she immediately, directed me to you.
Oh wow! Well, she's a fantastic person. She's been on our site for a very long time, and she does her House of Muses. I think that's her comic.
Yes.
So yeah, she's we love Pam.
We do.
She's stuck with us through everything, thick and thin.
Yeah.
We had a terrible period where our hosting company kind of messed up and destroyed the site in about 2011, I think it was. And we had to reform everything the site was dead for like 3 months, 6 months or something. It was a long time, but everyone left us, everyone. And Pam was one of the first people to come across, and she stuck with us. So yeah, we love her.
When we rose from the ashes, and tried to collect them.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
You rose from the ashes.
Exactly, and we're still growing, which is good, and because people like you coming along and joining the community and hosting your comic and wanting to show off your comic, this is the best. This is the cream of the cream. This is what the site exists for. So we're just so happy to have you on here.
Well,
someone with so much history.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where I don't know. Here's what I and this is not I'm not doing a critique of anything. I'm just saying that my experience has been that I don't see a lot of older creators doing new material that is relatable to today's audience. You know, taking what they know and just moving on. Writers do that, but I don't see cartoonists. But because here's your thing, you have to be both writer and artist to be able to do that. And a lot of the people of my generation worked for somebody and worked in the factory format. And a lot of it, if they were doing their own comic strip, they started doing gag comic strips. And I'm doing an adventure strip. I'm doing a fantasy strip. And so I don't see a lot of older artists, creators doing that. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I passed 74, so I'm bringing a lot of different points of view that to this material, and also experience doing it, and I'm hoping that there are others that will do that, but it takes a different energy level and to do that,
Yeah, you're right. It's back in the day, you say factory format, because we had like pencilers, inkers, writers, like letterers. People were very they were stuck in their lanes, and like modern webcomickers are generally people who handle everything, and that doesn't really fit into the thing that the older generations were into. So it's a totally different thing, and like you say, comic strips is one of the things that people would do, but that's far more simplified and not a long form thing. Whereas these kind of adventure comics are a lot more involved, a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So it's a hard transition.
It's a hard transition. I'm the thing that what I found myself doing is for a while back in the 90s, my wife and I wrote crime fiction novels together.
Oh wow!
And so we published 5 of them and self-published them, and we had them in the bookstores and what have you. And then the distributors, were bought up by Ingram, and basically we got cut out because we were only a one series, publisher, and they didn't want that. So it made it very difficult for us financially to keep going. So we just stopped. But during that period of time, I learned a lot about how to create multi-charactered, tapestries and weave them into a story that made sense as a novel. And so we did 5 of them. And so I learned a lot about how to do that. And
so you started off as an artist, and then you transitioned into being a writer as well, pretty much.
And we did that, and we look at that, and today on most shows you see that, and one of the great things, like to me, one of the best all-time great TV series is Deadwood.
Oh, right. Okay. The Ian McShane series.
Yes. Ian McShane and such, and even Justified was great, but Deadwood is a multi layered grouping of characters, and there's a great deal of writing that goes on because you are fascinated with all the characters, and I think a comic strip, you have to be it's not just the story, it's the personalities. People come back, they you hook them with the story, but then they'll come back for the personalities because they care about it.
Right.
Very, very true. Yeah, I've been in this world of digitally delivered TV shows. I've been binge watching many things, and the ones that I stick with are the ones with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care about long form stories as much as I care about characters that are interesting, and that's what drives these things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're very, very correct in that.
Yeah,
I think if you want to create a project or a comic or whatever that has people coming back to it, it really has to have the characters there.
mm-hmm.
Because if you subsume them just to be the story and the plot is the main driving force, you're going to lose people.
Right, and that's what I see so much in mainstream comics, and even those who are doing the Kickstarters. It's the pages that are created are basically pinups.
Yeah.
Or splash pages. They're not writing. Oh, I see time limits coming up. So
Google is our overlord. And,
yes.
forces us to do things.
We have enough time yet. I mean,
yes, we do.
It's fine. Gonna be fine.
One of the things I'm always fascinated by is the Australian shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, what we get a lot of times, the shows that we get on, say, Acorn, or the streaming services. There's a lot more, or at least there were older shows that had more different. But remember, we're looking from point of view of coming from the States and seeing Australians, and you're looking at Americans and saying, "Oh, that's interesting." So there's a different point of view. I mean, my wife is Canadian, so she comes from a different point of view also. So
yes, yeah, that outside looking in, but very, very close, because Canadians and Americans are just
No, they're not. No, about the very. Let's put it this way. My references are, on your side of the pond there, Australians and New Zealanders. They're not the same. They're different, but yet they're of the same hemisphere, so to speak. And so that's what we have. Canadians, Americans are like New Zealanders and Australians.
Exactly.
Australians are Americans. New Zealanders are Canadians.
That's exactly the system. Precisely. I was telling Baines earlier, I was watching an episode of Letterkenny, which is this great Canadian comedy, and in the final episode, it's at least available to me, they have because this is a Canadian show and they're interacting with Americans, which they often do, and they had their New Zealand and Australian cousins come into the show and exactly depict that system, which was fantastic. Yeah. So, what Australian shows have you been able to watch?
Well, we're able to watch. Oh, jeez. Now you're catching me. There was one, Far From Home. What was it? No. There was one that went on. It was the Australian show that had the kicker for us. It was with you. It was on. Originally, it was only 2 seasons, but there was such a kerfuffle, and there was such a groundswell of support for the show in Australia that they were forced. The production company was forced to rework the last episodes of the 2nd season so that it could accommodate another 4 or 5 seasons.
Jeez! Oh wow! I don't know this one. There's been so many things that I.
There's so many of them. I mean, if I find A Place Called Home, I think it was called like so.
Right. Oh, cool. So, Was that like a modern thing or like a?
Yeah, well, no, it takes
historical?
place in the late '60s, I think it was.
Okay.
You know, that sort of thing. Um, or late '60s, maybe the '50s. I can't quite remember. But anyway, the other one is there was you really got me going. I can't. I have to Google this stuff so you can remember. I'm 74 years old, so I can't remember all kinds of.
Look, I'm 48 and I can't remember anything. So.
I can't even remember how old I am. That's how bad.
Well, okay. I mean, I have a system for that. So, geez, but anyway, it's a great thing to do work on this stuff, and but anyway, the show's TV is TV. You know, some places have good quality, some places don't. You know, that's just the way it is. I do like the Bernard Cornwell's series. You know, you've got the Last Kingdom.
Oh, what was that?
The Last Kingdom. It's about it's how the Danes, the Vikings coming in to Great Britain, and how the whole society evolved into they were they were all divvied up, and so that was a great show there. I enjoyed that very much, and I enjoyed the Sharp books.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But Bernard Cornwell in his The Last Kingdom, that's a very good series that went on for five seasons on HBO.
Oh my God! Oh, well, I never heard of that one, but yeah, that sounds cool.
I see. It's very interesting that you get material that we don't, and we get material that you don't. And again, you'd think that you'd be able to,
Right.
There's so much stuff produced these days that you like Hollywood could stop producing TV shows now. And you still never get through it in your lifetimes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I just Googled it. It's a place to call home.
Oh, I think I might have heard of that. Okay.
A place to call home.
Okay.
I just Googled it, and that's it had it was in 2018. That 2014. Right. It started and it ended in 2018.
Okay.
So it was a great soap opera thing, and it had us on. We just loved it. The characters, and the villain was really cool. So it was one of those shows they won, and
I'll recommend it to people.
Yeah. So anyway, to your Australian friends there,
to everybody. Speaking of Australian shows, but also American shows, and Farscape. If you ever seen that one, that's a great one. Farscape.
No.
That's a fantastic. It's a sci-fi series. And it was made with the American production company in Australia with Australian actors and a couple of American ones. But it is brilliant. Movie quality effects, because it was basically movie production company people working on it. So if you ever get a chance and you're into sci-fi, I'd recommend that one. Especially if we're speaking about, because we were talking about things that are made that aren't necessarily family friendly, that are a bit dangerous, and that one fits into it. That was made back when Star Trek The Next Generation was a thing, and Babylon 5, which were mainstream sci-fi shows that were safe. that the nasty things were like glossed over and done behind closed doors, whereas Farscape.
Okay. I'll have to look at that one. Farscape. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Cool. I will.
So we're kind of wrapping up now. We've got 6 minutes to go. Google says so. Let's bring it back to you again.
All right.
We've been talking about like random stuff. So yeah, everybody has to check out the comic Bloodwing Firefist Angel, which is a brilliant piece of work. So you've got like a over 23 pages on this so far, which you've uploaded. Have you like created a lot of it that you're ready to like upload in one, or have you are you sort of creating?
No, it's I so far I have about 120 pages that have already been done.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
oh my
120
God.
pages it's already been done, and I'm just uploading it at the rate of maybe about 2 or 3 pages on Sundays and on Wednesdays. When after a certain point, because right now I'm generating stuff, and I've been quite busy with my Boba Fett book that I've been selling, because basically Boba Fett I packaged the materials that I received at Nelvana, and they are the model sheets and the original script, and then also some of my animation drawings, and that's packaged into a 64-page trade paperback book.
Wow!
And so I've done that. So I'm selling that, on my website, along with original drawings of Boba Fett, and things of that sort. So I've been quite busy fulfilling all that stuff and shipping it all out worldwide. And then so what I've been doing is then, I know I've got certain amount of comics that I need to put into a bit more a friendly form of PNGs, at a lower res, so that it can be uploaded. So that's what I'm doing at this point. But at a certain point, I'm going to have to go back and start drawing new material. Because there's a ton of material, story wise, that has already been written and created. For that.
You have the world's most amazing buffer. Like, everyone is jealous at this point. So
yes, 100 pages of buffer. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And I mean, this Boba Fett project sounds fantastic. So you have a lot of collectors and people really interested in that.
Yeah. Again, one of those things. It's there's a lot material, and that's what I'm trying to bring that. I'm offering to bring that to the community, for whoever is interested in, what I'm doing with my comic, and that's.
Wow. All right. So we're going to have a link to this, the Boba Fett.
Yeah, it's on my web. If you look above, the banner, you'll see, my I got both my YouTube channel. If you want to see animation principles and things of that sort, there's that channel, and then there's also the direct link to my website.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll include all of this stuff so people can check it out. So thank you so much for being on the Quackcast. This has been an honor.
Thank you. Well,
it has been,
yeah.
and we really I look forward to seeing you in the community in general, in the forums, in the events that we are doing. Hopefully, we will be doing more events soonish, and bring back all of that old school Drunkduck.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
It's been amazing.
Amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My God, a person who actually drew She-Ra and He-Man. That's incredible.
Well, I'm glad to
Wowzers.
have to be accepted to the group. This is not old man shouting at clouds. This is
Not at all.
No.
Oh my God. Well, yeah. So thank you very much. And Google is going to kick us to the curb in a second.
well.
So,
Hope
yeah.
everybody has a happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas to you
Yes.
as well.
Oh my God. Happy Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, all of that. Have your best.
Yes,
Yeah. Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, or everything.
Yeah.
it's cool.
But yeah. Okay.
All right.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Take
Great.
care.
Thank you.
Take care, Baines, Mike, Tanya. Take care. Have
You
safe.
too as well, John.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
139.
I'm
Okay.
afraid already. Just hearing that, I'm afraid.
It's very intimidating.
Yes.
All right.